How many times have you seen a ball just go into the water and there's a little ledge and they're trying to get it with the club because they really want to get that ball and then they fall in? I've seen that twice. So in theory, the ball retriever could be saving lives.
Buy a ball retriever. The life you save may be your own.
Yes! Hello friends, and thanks for coming back for episode number 54 of No Putts Given. More new releases this week, and we take on the stigma of ball retrievers. Let's get it.
No Putts Given is powered by MyGolfSpy, the most extensive reviews in golf. Before you buy, MyGolfSpy. 9 million readers do it every year. Check us out.
Congratulations to DogDaddy47 on Twitter, winner of a Honma XP1 driver. Follow us on social for your chance to participate in future contests and giveaways.
All right, everybody, like I said, thanks for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us, tag us on Instagram, do all of those things that you guys in the internet world do. But here we are again for episode number 54. We've got Tony, Harry, and Chris here. Everybody say hi.
Yo.
Hey, Ryder.
What's happening?
We played wiffle ball yesterday on the beach, and Harry, bless his heart, doesn't know all the baseball rules. And there's a point where Harry is heading towards second, and he runs through second. And my dad tags him, and it turned into this like World War III. Is Harry out or is Harry excused because he didn't know the rules?
I don't know.
Is Harry out or ignorant? Question mark.
Probably both. They put me back in, and then I scored a home run. Well, a grand slam because bases were loaded. So suck it.
He did.
I scored one. You scored a
He
grand
scored
slam.
a home run.
I give it a good whack. That's what I did. I give it a good whack.
I would certainly hope so.
Yep.
We'll go ahead and jump into the topics for this week. So first up, we've got the new Callaway B21 in the Big Bertha lineup releasing this week. So I want to know, will it cure your slice? Tony, why don't you jump right into this one?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't slice the ball. I'm more the opposite of that type of thing. I'm a serial hooker, if you will. That sounds a little awkward. But I do like the premise here. What separates the BB or the B21, the BBB21 from other
the Big Bertha B21
from other anti-slice drivers is that in talking to the Callaway guys, I sort of described it as a more forgiving tailor-made SLDR with some slice correction. The whole idea being we're gonna take the center of gravity, push it low and forward, and that's a recipe for killing spin. And so if you can do that, what Callaway says happens is you get these longer, straighter drives, and if you are a slicer, you no longer have to sort of aim left and wait for it to come back. You can actually just aim right down the middle of the fairway and get good results, better results than you're going to get with a conventional driver. So yeah, I actually think this is a really solid release.
Okay. All right, Chris, what do you think? The Callaway Big Bertha B21, is it going to cure your slice?
There's a lot of consonants involved in there. I'd like to buy. Yeah, I'd like to buy a vowel first, and then yeah. I guess my biggest question with this is kind of what Tony alluded to, which is it going to be better at doing what it purports to do than other things that we've seen in that area, right? Like, so Ping, SFT driver models have historically tested really well for people that fight that left-right ball flight, the slicers, if you will. I like it because it's actually a different story. It's not the same story and just trying to put a bunch of marketing mumbo-jumbo around what's effectively the same technology that somebody else has. This is actually a different story with different talking points to it. Now, the other piece to that is if you're a bad golfer and you slice the ball a lot, I don't know that there's technology that's going to entirely fix that. I mean, if you are hitting this 40, 50, 60-yard slice, there's a reality there that there's certain things that cause certain ball flights, and we're trying to mitigate those. And how much can we help mitigate them for the average golfer? We'll see. But I don't think anything's going to turn somebody's 40, 50-yard slice into, this nice, tight, high draw. It may just make it a little bit less bad, which
is good. Less bad is good.
Yeah.
It's math.
Yeah, less bad is good.
All right. Harry, what do you think? The Callaway B21, can it cure a slice?
It can help somewhat. if it does exactly what it says on the tin. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of anti-slice drivers out there on the market right now, so I kind of feel like this is just going back into that kind of category. So they have an anti-slice driver within that Callaway lineup.
They are. I mean, they had that with Maverick Max, though.
Yes,
so this is,
yes, they did.
Right.
This is like, we're going to do this completely differently than.
No,
than
I get
else.
it, and I get that low spin is the way to go. But if you're a guy who kind of struggles with carrying it further and needs to carry objects and bunkers and water, whatever, it's not going to be that one. It might help with the anti-slice, but you might not carry it as far, so you might still be in trouble in that aspect. So I like the concept of the low spin, but if you're on a course that you need to carry a lot of, say, hazards, it's one of those ones where you might need to think of something out that gives you a little bit more spin, but might not be a longest driver for you.
Okay. All right, moving on. We've also been doing some work with the FlightPath tee in the studio. We'll have that lab test out eventually because we're still in the middle of it. But Harry, you've been working with the tee. I want to know, is it the most advanced golf tee on the market?
No.
Okay.
Would you care to expand?
I mean, there's a lot of marketing BS when it comes to these kind of things, and I'm just going to say it how it is. And from what I've seen in testing so far, if anything, it annoys me because you can't get the ball on the tee. It won't stay on it. If it's vertical, the ball will roll off, and then any wind, you ain't getting that ball on. So you have to tilt it back a little bit for the ball to stay on, and then that changes the launch angle, which promotes the more consistent launch angle. So if you want a lower launch, yes, you could tee it down a little bit lower, but then you're potentially creating a little bit more spin because you're teeing it down lower in theory. I don't know. I don't see anything that is really definitive that says this is going to help your game by 5 strokes.
What do they say it does? I haven't.
It says it's straight.
Full disclosure, I haven't spent a lot of time studying up on tee technology.
Longer, straighter, lower spinning.
Yeah. All the ones that you normally see.
It tastes great, less filling.
Well, Tony, why don't you run us through some of the proposed things that this tee is supposed to help you with or correct, and also give us your opinion. Is it the most advanced golf tee on the market?
Yeah, so I mean, it's exactly what you would expect from anybody making a golf performance claim. So more speed, higher launch, low spin, tighter dispersion, less side spin, if you will, is kind of what we were deciphered they were going for. And like every other company that makes a claim like this, they have Golf Labs data to support the claim. They don't really go into kind of the specificity and whether or not this data is even the slightest bit statistically significant, even if we're talking like a 40% confidence interval or something like that.
Have we seen any lab come back from Golf Labs where they're like, oh, God, damn it, it came back and it told us, our product sucks. And so
it turns out it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm sure it happens, but in independent testing, it wasn't nearly as good as it was in our own.
Right.
I was talking to Adam about it when I was in Japan. Like, there are literal sections of golf stores carved out for it's essentially the tea department, and there's like just hundreds of kind of these wacky designs, and you can go back through recent history with obviously things like the FlightPath, and the Tomahawk was a thing for a while.
What was the one with the little bristles, the bristle tees?
That's the brush tee. The totem tee was something called a totem tee, where it's basically a cardboard tube and you need a tool to insert it into the ground. And, they all make the same claims, same flavor of claims. And ultimately, number one tee on the PGA Tour year after year after year after year, right, is
wood.
Bryson is not using a brush tee, right? Brooks isn't teeing it up with a FlightPath, right? If something's quantifiably better, those guys are going to figure it out and use it.
Laura Davies doesn't even use a tee, right? Doesn't Laura Davies just hit the mound?
Dirt.
Yeah, she usually makes yeah.
Well, not with a driver. Sometimes in the wind, but I actually walked around watching her at Kingsmill Resort when they had the LPGA down there, and yeah, I do it as well. It might be an English thing, where if you're on a par 3 and you want to get the same kind of like turf interaction, you press it down, like you bang the ground, it pops up a little bit, and you just place it on that little bit of grass, and then bang,
shaboom,
you're good.
All right, Chris, I want you to get your time as well. So maybe we'll change the question a little bit. Can a golf tee be advanced? Are they just, is it just marketing claims that'll never come to fruition?
We need triaxial carbon fiber, I think, is probably the long-term answer here.
I was going to say, yeah, we need some T2C carbon fiber. We need, maybe, can it be advanced? Sure. I mean, you could use different materials. You could, do something that's more like biodegradable, environmentally sensitive, things that have benefits beyond performance. But again, I like analogies. The paperclip. Can you make a better paperclip?
Fair enough.
Why have they not improved on the paperclip or the 3M sticky note or some of these things that are just so basically functional that it kind of is what it is. And so, your stock wooden tee.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I mean, you can add, like we talked about, like ways to increase distance, right? If I like having like the lines on them. So you know how far to put the tee in the ground, maybe to get a consistent tee height. So can you advance some of those things? Yeah, I would certainly think so. But in its basic format, there's a reason I still use a lot of paper clips. And I would imagine from a performance standpoint, if there's a list of 100 things that golfers can invest in to improve performance on the course, that's probably 105th, 110th on the list, which I know is more than 100.
What are they, Harry? They're like five for $24.
They're $5 a tee.
Oh, wow.
Which is redonkulous. It is just kind of... And the reason why they say it's because once you have one, you'll never need another tee because it does not break.
And you broke one, right?
And we broke 2 in testing. So... I mean, that claim is completely false. And they're saying, I think it's like 50 wooden tees. It's as strong as that, if not more. It just keeps on going, and we've broken 2. So I'm not spending that much money. I'd rather spend that on like 4 beers.
Yeah, and if you're really smart about it, you do what I did every time I came play with Tony. Is I would just find like the free tee area, and then you get your couple 3-4 handfuls. Jam those in your bag. I think I still have tees from McGregor, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. Just go whenever you go to play a golf course.
A nice course, they'll give you the free tees.
Just come up with your big bag and just dump them all in there and bang, and then you're sorted.
Yep, and then you got money left for beer.
For beers, exactly. That's the main important thing.
Yeah, you're talking about a golf tee that costs as much as a Pro V1. I get it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Harry, I'm coming to you first again because my favorite buyer's guide of the year came out yesterday. I want you to elaborate. I'm not going to give you much to go on here, but ball retrievers?
I mean, they're the bee's knees.
Here we go.
They are the future, in my opinion. I mean...
The future of what?
I was just going to say, the future of...
I mean, at the end of the day, this gets so much traffic, and it's not because we do it for traffic. It's because... they actually save you money at the end of the day. When it comes, the average cost of a ball is around about $3 to $5 if you get like a premium kind of golf ball. So
something that is not trash.
Exactly. So it's not a ball that actually is decent. And if you're having a bad day at the office, it's one of those ones where I could lose. I played with a guy who plays Pro Vs and he's lost 12 golf balls in a round.
A round?
Yeah. Yep, he had a bad day.
Good Lord.
It was a lot of water. And I was like, dude, get yourself a ball retriever. You'll be able to at least recover half of those that are kind of in the woods. If not, you might be able to find some that you can reuse. At the end of the day, it's there to save you money. And it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't slow the game down because the people who have these ball retrievers, if they're out of the hole, they can fish around looking for balls whilst those putt on the golf course.
And hey, you might find some nice ones in the meantime. You guys talked about the free tee bins.
Exactly.
Why not? A lake is a free ball bin. There you go.
I would jokingly say it's a product for fishermen who don't have access to a boat.
How many balls are actually lost a year in the United States alone? Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's millions, but it's...
It
doesn't mean we need guys that are supposed to be playing golf out trying to find them. But you joke, but it's...
At the end of the day, they're saving the environment.
Yes.
All right.
Done.
I guess we could maybe concede that point. It's one of those things, right? It's easy to mock real golfers, make fun of them all the time, right? But I mean, how many different models did we have in our test, Harry? And whatever that number is, my thinking is like there wouldn't be that many if companies weren't selling a lot of them.
And if they didn't work, I mean, it's the, Miranda, I think what analogy did you use? They're the kind of the pocket protectors.
Yep, they're the pocket protectors of golf. I mean, you look at those guys who wear pocket protectors and you think, oh, they're geeks, they're nerds. Who needs to carry around a pen that might potentially leak? But if that's a nice shirt,
I would not put a pen in this shirt without a pocket protector.
Exactly.
Well, you don't want to bleed onto one of your pineapples.
That sounds like a personal issue.
That's a life lesson right there.
It is. Here's the thing with the ball retrievers. They are ridiculously functional. They are like to me, they're like the minivan of the golf industry, where they make so much sense. They save you money over the long term, right? They can take people who otherwise maybe can't focus for an entire round of golf and occupy some of that downtime, and so they're over there fishing, whatever, and they think they've done something. It gives people a sense of accomplishment. Like if you've ever seen somebody that find their ball and I think I can get this one. I think I can get it. There's a sense of satisfaction that people derive from doing that. And yeah, if you're spending $4 or $5 a golf ball, that thing's going to pay for itself in 1-2 rounds. So from an investment standpoint, it's a no-brainer. Again, optics aside, I love it. I think it's fantastic. I teach my kids how to use one.
I was going to say, this just occurred to me. What if you brought your kid and it's free babysitting and told them to go find golf balls for dad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Free babysitting.
a ball retriever, or even as Chris said, like finding golf balls, can kind of take the sting out of an 8, having to write the snowman on the card. I remember when I was there was a course I play. I've been in a long time, a little south of here, but like on the 16th or 17th hole, I invariably slice 2 off into the woods. Right, I'd be like, well, you finish the hole, I'll catch up with you. And I did it so often that I learned where balls collected on that particular hole. So I'd go out in the woods, and in the span of time it took everybody else to finish, I'd come out with 24 plus and be like, yeah!
There you go.
Most of them were Slazengers. So it wasn't like, not a massive victory, but every now and then you'd be like, all right, Pro V1, that was worth it.
Yeah, Tony's like, hey, what'd you make on that hole? He's like, I made a moose, but I found a dozen balls, like.
Pockets would be full. And be like,
Here's the thing, though. I've seen this happen twice. How many times have you seen a ball just go into the water and there's like a little ledge and they're trying to get it with the club because they really want to get that ball, and then they fall in? I've seen that twice.
I've never seen.
So in theory, the ball retriever could be saving lives, because if you don't know how to swim, it could be saving lives. I think it's got multifunctional. They're saving environment, they're saving lives, they're giving you golf balls back.
I can't argue this. Buy a ball retriever. The life you save may be your own.
Yes!
Boom!
By next week, I think you come up with a list. What are 5 to 10 other things that you could use a ball retriever for? Since you're on, I mean, if we're saving the environment, we're saving like
COVID stick, like stay 6 feet away, but this is like 12 foot. There's so many.
Social distance.
Social
That's
distance.
Good. All right, let me reel it in.
But all joking aside, ball retrievers do save you money.
There is no not joking about this.
Yes, from a financial standpoint,
yes,
they are absolutely a money maker or saver.
But Tony, we now know it could save your life. So,
yep.
Yeah, I really had never thought of it in that context, I will admit.
Tony, I'll come to you for this one first. I'm going to take a minute on this one as well. But Callaway, in addition to their B21, the drivers and the irons, also launched their women's brand platform that they're calling REVA, which is short for Revolution. And under that, the first products to come out are a line of ladies' clubs. And so I want to know, are these the best clubs on the market for women?
I I've never played a women's club. I've swung a few. We did a small test a few years ago that was kind of interesting to kind of actually hear from women on what they thought about products and have them hit products. But yeah, I don't know. I think more than anything, I don't know if experiment's the right word, but I think golf companies are trying to figure out how to reach women golfers. What do we need to do from a product standpoint? What's the right messaging? Where do we broadcast that message? These type of questions. And so I think REVA is a solid stab at trying to figure some of that out. And I think ultimately it's going to evolve. But as you and I have discussed, and I'm sure you'll weigh in on, there's a little bit of, from what we see anyway, kind of this fracture in what you would, in the women's market. You have a segment of women who say, look, I'm a golfer, period. That's where the conversation ends, and it begins. And so I don't need a women's specific golf club. I need a golf club that fits me, and I want to have the same technology that the men have, and I don't want to be segmented based on my gender, and that's the end of it. And then you have another segment that, and I think this is kind of what Callaway is trying to reach, where we know that there are women who want to walk into a golf shop and find products that they feel were made especially for them. And so I think, Callaway's probably done some market research, and just like you do with a men's club, you say, hey, where's the fat part of the market? Where's the majority? Where's my opportunity? And I think REVA is born of where they think that is.
Okay. So the question is, are these the best clubs for women? And I think the answer has to be no. And that has absolutely nothing to do with the club. Don't even have to swing it to be able to answer no, because there is no one club for women, so how can it be the best one? And that's the issue that I take with the premise of women's clubs, is that it seems as if women get put into one box, and there is an assumption that all of us have at least similar or the same needs, and so then there would be something that could collectively work for women as a whole. It's as if for some reason there's this disconnect that men can be varied and women are not. And I don't know why that happens. But women are as varied as men. And so when I see, there's 3 versions of the Maverick out, I'm like, okay, so why would there be 3 versions of this, but only 1 version of this? And I don't understand the gendered labeling in that sense, because in other sports, like for instance, if you take the difference between baseball and softball, there's different equipment needs because the ball's bigger, the length between the bases are shorter. So yeah, you're going to have different bats, different weights, different gloves to accommodate. Soccer should all be the same. Golf, I think the only difference there is height. So if that's the only consideration, I think the answer to that question has to be no, because women are as varied as men. And so how can we say that one club is the best for them? So Chris, how about you? What do you think?
2 things. Number one, I think you're right in terms of some of this latent language that we see around gendered issues. And what I mean by that is this. You take last week, there was a U.S. Amateur event there. Obviously, we got PGA Tour stuff every week. There was a women's LPGA event that Stacey Lewis ended up winning. And Stacey was very outspoken about the pace of play. She was playing with 2 players that are notoriously slow golfers. And when you read a lot of the comments on the male side, it was pointing out individuals, this player is super slow, that player is super slow. And then on the women's side, it was like, hey, women's golf is really slow. They didn't necessarily want to segment it by the player. And so I don't know if that's intentional, to say, hey, we want to paint this with, one single brush and say that women's golf is slow. But that's certainly the way that I read it. I think there is for whatever reason, that's a habit we've gotten into. I think the other point is, where do you create meaningful differentiation for a product? We know if you're a golf company, you're trying to sell product, you got to make it different. And sometimes that difference is important, and there's an interesting story to it. Like we said with the B21 stuff, it's a different way about going a story where, it's a distinction maybe and a difference, and there's something really intriguing about that. On the female side, as a dad of 7 daughters and some girls that like to play golf and certainly play other sports, it's interesting that in general, they're not looking at the equipment itself as a place of where they want to see something that maybe does appeal to a female more than it would to a male. They're looking at, again, just using my daughter specifically, clothes, apparel, stuff like that, where it's like, oh, that's a really cute hat. Oh, I love those shoes. They're not going, oh man, I want those pink golf clubs, you know? And they've done, I think, a pretty good job with the aesthetic of not kind of doing the whole shrink it and pink it type thing. But it's again, in the specific labeling of, hey, these are clubs for women. These are clubs for girls. The club doesn't know who's swinging it. The ball doesn't know who's swinging it. So why are we not separating it by swing speed, height, ability, player characteristics that are independent of gender? And the only reason to really ultimately to do that is to try to create distinction, to take advantage of some market share opportunities perhaps, and increase sales. I actually don't like the idea of gendered golf clubs as a premise, but I also I understand why golf companies want to do that.
All right, Harry, what do you think?
I can understand why there's only typically one type of driver for ladies, because if they did multiple offerings, they're not going to sell and they're going to lose money on that, purely because that's the market that we live in today. But I do agree. I think it should be a multitude of different types of drivers for swing speeds, not just ladies. At the end of the day, there are men golfers out there that are slow swing speeds, and it should be catered to them as well. And the only thing that should change is the length. And I know once you change the length, you're going to change the swing weights and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it should be on swing speeds and your height of your individual. With this line here, I think they did a good job of at least starting the conversation up again. But obviously the verbiage needs to be better. They need to not label it as ladies. It should be swing speeds instead of ladies.
I'm guessing that they have marketing data that says that,
they have.
The right way to go is to call it women's clubs. And from a fitting perspective, it's tricky, right? Because when you see that there are 3 Mavericks and 1 REVA, it certainly gives the appearance that you're shortchanging women. But if you kind of lay the entire Callaway lineup, right? 4 drivers, there is a plot, right? Where, hey, if we say, hey, REVA is call it our women's driver, what we're really talking about is a lightweight option that fits somebody who maybe isn't as tall and has a slower swing speed. And then kind of, if you progress and go, all right, well, person's a little taller, a little faster, still needs some of the spin and the forgiveness. Well, now you're into Maverick Max, and you just keep going. So, there really are, if you can think about it, if there are 4 drivers in the entire Callaway lineup, then there are 4 drivers that could be for a woman, but 1 that is for women.
Right. I completely agree with that. And that was sort of my point when I said that, no, these aren't the best clubs for women, because they might be, if you're a female golfer, it might be good for you, but it also might not. So that you should peruse the men's options, and you really should get fit. And I think that's part of the problem, is that golf retailers are lazy in that aspect. So, for example, I walked up to somebody at the PGA show. We were kind of building my bag, seeing what would be best for me. And he goes, all right, so how about a ladies club? And if I didn't have Harry there, I would have been fit into a club that didn't work for me just because I was a woman. Harry stood up and said, no, her swing speed's too fast. That won't work. And I'm not going to say I'm far beyond the ladies clubs, because I'm not. I think I'm in the next option up or something like that. But I would have been misfit just because I am a woman. And I think that probably happens time and time again.
Yeah, I think you're right that there is probably, and this isn't on Callaway necessarily. This is sort of just the world and fitters, if you will, and big box to a degree. But it's,
yes, that individual was not with Callaway.
Right, but you sort of walk in and with a male, there probably is that, hey, all right, take a couple swings, and we'll figure out where to begin. Whereas with, I think it's probably fairly common that a woman walks in and goes, all right, we're going to start here because I see that you are a woman.
Yep.
One last thing, just super quick, is,
sure,
you think about all the things you need to go play golf, right? And it's funny how we don't, when we're talking about golf balls, we're not talking about men's golf balls and women's golf balls. We talk about golf balls based on performance, and really that's what clubs are, right? They're a tool in that part of the equation. Like, I was just sitting here thinking, like, what if you walked into Home Depot and they're like, oh, okay, the women's lawnmowers are over here, and the junior hammers are over here, and oh, you want a saw? Okay, well, the saw for seniors are over there. Oh, by the way, did I tell you where the women's lawnmowers were? Yeah, they're the light pink ones over here. Like, you would never ever do that. People don't even think about, because it's a utilitarian piece to it. I would love, again, to see some company really go, and I know there's probably market research says there's an opportunity there, and they haven't figured out really how to message it super well yet. If a company can figure out how to message it and do that, that'd be interesting.
I think the issue, and I'm not pinpointing Callaway on this because I haven't spoken to them specifically about it, but I think if you want to market to women, you really have to get women involved in your process. And I think that that's a problem across the golf industry, and it doesn't exist.
Well, they technically have.
Yes, but who are they?
Well, they said that they're the R&D team.
Who are these women?
Well, are they? They said that they have talked to a multitude of women in their own company about this product and the LPGA.
Yes, but then I want to see them involved in the execution of it as well.
There is an element, right? Can you personalize this above and beyond the, hey, we have a binder full of women we spoke with, right?
Right. And that's part of the thing is that so I'll say women are put in a box, or maybe they're put in a binder, and that's the difference, I think. That's the difference. But again, like I said, this is not a Callaway problem. We just happen to use their new brand as a launching point for this discussion.
But there is that too, and we're guilty of this, right? We are three men and Miranda, and but across the industry, it doesn't matter what the product is, and I've talked about the very few exceptions that I've encountered, but it is overwhelmingly men doing the talking, period, no matter what the product is. And there's, across the industry, I think it's fair to say that women, especially in technical positions, are significantly underrepresented.
I mean, it's a microcosm of the bigger STEM reality. There are less women in science, technology, engineering, and math, and that relays into golf. It's a reflection of that.
It's men designing women's clubs and telling it from a man's side.
I don't want to say that if something is for women that it has to be done by women. I don't want to say that, but I think there's a way to not make it feel like a handout. And I don't know that this does, but I think if there are other women listening to this, they're going to say, yes, there are so many things designed for women that just feels like we're being done a favor. And I'm not saying that that is the case in this particular line, but it happens quite often. So we have a tendency to be defensive of something like that.
Is it a little bit like left-handed golfers in a way, kind of?
Maybe.
It is similar in that
they don't have enough market share.
Most of that is a financial, there's a financial element to it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's all money.
So with the men's market in general, again, it's largely a known commodity across the board. So we'll use Titleist as an example because they tend to make almost everything they do in left-handed models. They understand how many of each model they expect to sell, how many to make, whether or not they're going to be able to recoup their mold costs, where they can offset any type of loss they take on left-handed equipment. It's the same thing Mizuno does, where they can project. Its projections are why they don't make certain clubs in left-handed. They know they can't, that audience doesn't exist, that they're not going to sell enough to break even. With the emerging women's market, if you will, it's still a bit of an unknown. So I don't think companies have those detailed projections. They don't know, how many they're really going to sell, and how large the audience actually is at this point. So I think until it reaches the point where golf companies know, hey, we're going to make X and we're going to sell Y, and the volume is there that we can do some other niche kind of stuff within the women's market, like they do within the broader market, right? We have these, like I said, these low spin things, and I don't know, maybe it's like a super high launch for an even slower swing speed and something, there is a range, and you can continue to push those boundaries. But until you understand what the meaty part of the market gets you can't really take on those additional pieces.
Yeah.
The bigger picture to me too here is, okay, does this line give more golfers more options to find something that fits them better? Yeah, it absolutely does. So that's a positive. How you get golfers to get to that point without, however many hurdles they need to try to jump over to say, okay, this is the one that actually fits me the best. Am I really going to fit this male golfer into the driver that fits him the best, even if it's marketed specifically for females? That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, I think you might be losing a couple of male,
or just misfitting them. They're going to say, "Yeah, I want to be."
Exactly, that's what I mean. Because they're like, "I'm not playing ladies' clubs."
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking about this in the context of fitting, right? That's a large part of this discussion. We know that even today, the majority of men don't get fit. It's reasonable to assume that in that respect, women aren't that much different either, right? To a degree, it does make sense to put something on the shelf and say, very overtly, this is for women, so that when a woman who has no intention of getting fit walks into a golf shop or is browsing the internet, it's really easy to go, well, shit, this one, because it says women's and the others don't, and we're good. Problem solved.
When I went from junior clubs to men's clubs, there was too much of a gap for me. I mean, I wasn't the tallest kid and still not the tallest man.
Well said.
So I had a transition. So
you hit it farther than people twice your height, though.
Yes,
so.
But I went from junior clubs to what it was, ladies clubs, because it fitted me better. But it wasn't to do with ladies clubs. It was shorter and lighter, which is what I needed then, because I wasn't strong enough to go into the men's steel regular length. So I transitioned from juniors to the ladies, which should have been the slower swing speed category irons and drivers and fairway woods.
Yes, but I think the problem is you don't sell as many, and that's the crux of the issue. Okay, well, if you love our new format as much as we do, we promise we'll be better about it in the future. We just got a little bit off track here, but I want to dial it back and get back to it. We've got another hot seat this week. We introduced MotoCaddy, an electric kart brand that's done really well in the UK and is starting to make their mark in the US. But I want to know from you guys, are electric karts taking over the US? Is it the new British invasion? Should they be a thing?
They should be, absolutely. And in fact, as kind of COVID hit, I had a couple guys reach out and go, hey, I'm thinking about getting an electric push cart. What's the best one? Americans tend to be super pig-headed about these sort of things. And, push carts were typically viewed, or in some cases viewed, as a sign of weakness. You should carry your clubs like a man, or you should drive in a cart like an old man. I'm not sure how that works, but definitely don't be in the middle somewhere.
Well, whatever you do, don't do it like a woman.
Right, exactly. But I love it in premise, and I can't wait to actually try one, because to me there's something, it's like freeing. There's a freedom to walking down the fairway on the off chance I actually put my ball in one, being basically totally unencumbered, right? Where the cart is following you, it's there, but you're not sort of pushing, and you're not rolling in a cart and driving. Like, it's just the open space around you. And I find like there's something to that I really like. And I've experienced it a couple times when I actually had taken a caddy who carried my clubs, where I'm walking, but like you're just in that space, and it's really just kind of one of the great experiences in golf, in my opinion, and a motorized push cart really allows you to do that.
All right, that was very poetic. I liked it. Chris, how about you? Electric carts, yes or no?
Yes, and I'm nice and relaxed now from Tony's visualization.
It sounded beautiful.
I'm walking down a fairway. It might be my fairway. It might be the adjacent fairway.
Still counts.
Doesn't really matter at this point. I think there's a natural evolution to these things, and it's perception, right? Some of the stigma attached to anything other than walking and carrying your own golf bag. It's very much an experiential thing. I think if you can get people to try it and see what it's like, then you're going to have an opportunity to really, dive in, and people are going to say, okay, maybe I would invest in one of these. And so I would love to see courses, bring in 3, 4, 5, 10 of them, whatever, not unlike they do with motorized carts, right? And say, okay, let's get 10 of these and see if people will actually use them. What does it look like? How does that happen? There's maybe a little bit more of a learning curve. But again, you have people driving carts, and there's certainly a learning curve with that, and certainly some liability with that. And we've all seen things go terribly wrong with that. But, I don't see why courses wouldn't maybe look that way.
Fall in ponds like you're holding a ball retriever.
Yeah, this is it. It could save lives. It could save lives, people.
And on that note, all right, Brett, what do you got? Electric carts? You glad they made it over here with you? They made the journey with you?
Yeah, 1,000% yes. I mean, I've been using them since 12 years old, since I started playing golf. There is no stigma in England, and it's probably a reason why we're beating you in the Ryder Cup.
How'd that war turn out? That 1700, there was a war.
I would guess that if the Ryder Cup was just England, you would probably get your asses handed to you mightily.
Yeah, we probably would, but I'm talking about Europe. Europe in general, they are everywhere. Now, the reason why is you get to play golf the way it was intended to be played, in a way. And yes, you could have
Hold on, electric...
No, it does, because you're
walking... The game's a lot older than electric carts.
I am saying electric
cart... Are you sure?
When old Tom Morris charged his first electric cart battery.
Oh my God. What I said is it allows you to play the way golf was intended to play, because you're walking down the fairway without any stress or fear of your bad back with your clubs on your back. You're walking the course and you're in the zone more. And if you're focusing on your bad back with your clubs on there, you can't get in the zone as easy as walking down the fairway and thinking about your next shot. One way you're gonna beat the stigma of electric car is to do what they do in England and Europe. Is the pro shops will rent them out and use them for a round, and it's $5 for a round, and you rent them out, and then more and more you get to use them and say, you know what, this is pretty decent.
So it would be the same as like a typical cart, like a typical golf cart. You could rent them for a round. Yeah,
but you're walking, and it's $5, and you go around. It's so much better than getting in a golf cart. And I get that down in Florida, you're not gonna want to play in and walk the course in 150-degree heat, wherever it is. I know that's not going to be a thing that happens, but everywhere else in America, up north, if you've got a very hilly course, I think they're going to do really well. I think electric carts in general are going to take off here very soon. And I think the renting option is the way forward. And that's how they're going to break into the North American market.
I think the obstacle is still cost, right? I mean,
yeah.
That, and I think there's a significant percentage of Americans who just don't want to walk, period. But
a consensus in the hot seat this week, guys. That's all I've got. So unless anybody else has any, relevant news that we need to discuss today, Chris, did you eat anything? I didn't. Are you hungry? Are you okay? I didn't see you eating anything.
I am starving right now. I have not eaten a single thing today. I did take my weekly CBD or my daily CBD.
I was worried about you.
We're on lemon lime, and I found this crazy, super advanced design for a golf tee. Look at that. Look at that. It's a tee.
Yeah, but is that one of our logo tees?
It is actually. I just found it on the ground.
So we use a special paint for that significantly reduces friction and can add up to 40 yards to a drive, even and that's with a swing speed of only 80 miles an hour. And that is some shit that is absolutely not true, and I just made that up.
Yeah, I could hit it just as far if I used women's clubs with this. Maybe I can go get that women's lawnmower later this afternoon.
If that was a thing, maybe my wife would mow the lawn every now and again.
She'd make you mow the lawn with it, and your pineapple shirt.
All right, fellas. Well, thank you for helping me attack systematic gender inequalities today and talking about some advanced golf tees and other things like that. Like I said, if you love our new format, let us know, and we'll do better to make sure we stick to it next week.
What format?
Ball retrievers save lives.
We out.
Oh, Jesus.